nobody's on LinkedIn because they want to downgrade their situation. It's just the reality, right?
Right. Yeah.
So you're either selling somebody, you're providing value to a specific person who's on there for a specific reason. Not many people go on there, and if they're on LinkedIn to troll or whatever, because there are trolls there and stuff, you name it, like there are on Facebook and stuff. The thing is, it's the mindset of like, who, they're on Facebook because they're, watching family stuff or their kids or whatever, whatever, the friends' kids, whatever, or they're on LinkedIn for a different reason. And so that's the beauty of using that platform, because you can be, get value to the right audience, and that's how you can convert a really, strong community there.
Welcome to another installment of the Millionaire Secrets Show. Excited to be here with you all out there. I appreciate all of you listeners and watchers. Excited to be here with our guest today, Fabio Marrama. I'm selfishly and greedily excited to talk at least a little bit of business with him, because he's an expert on something that I'm woefully ignorant about, which we'll get into. But also, and especially just because I love successful entrepreneurs. I love getting in and understanding what makes them tick. And Fabio is wildly successful, which we'll talk, as in anybody named Fabio should be wildly. And he is. So we're going to get into that. Fabio, man, I'm glad you're here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I'm looking forward to seeing what ways we can, as a conversation, provide good value to your audience. I think touch on some good subjects that's going to probably really hit the mark for some people, maybe whether it's struggles, things are going through, life journeys that we can, I guess, both relate to. So looking to dive into that.
Good. Okay. Struggles, life journeys. This is the real stuff. I appreciate that. Obviously I want to talk some marketing, because I'm a marketing nerd, and can't not talk about it, but whenever I'm with a fellow marketer, but yeah, I appreciate that you got right into the mushy stuff. If we could go there, right out of the gate, the reason I started this show, most of my listeners know this at this point, is because I want to demystify and hopefully remove all the presumptions, I guess, around really successful, and not even exclusively entrepreneurs, just like people who get to own their life. Mm-hmm. People who aren't under others' thumbs and having their strings yanked in all directions. Just those of us that get to kind of live the way we want, do what we want, and make a great living at it. What's behind those stories? Because I know most people in the world want that, but most of the people in the world seem to be struggling to get it. So let's make it real for people. Do you mind taking me back to, let's start here. Take me back to the moment when you realized that the path that the world would probably have set you on, without your interference, of work for the man, get the gig, do the thing, be on everybody else's program. When was the moment when you realized that's not going to work for me? And what did you do from there to get out of that path?
Yeah. So I think, for context, I think there's a lot of people that there's nothing wrong with that. I think there's for some people it's hey, that's what I love. And I think from an entrepreneurial perspective, there's a lot of people that, we like to call them intrapreneurs, right? They are game changers within, large companies. You look at, let's say, places in Silicon Valley, and they're movers and shakers, and they do some amazing, amazing things. So I think for context, what kind of really got me to understand and really through this journey notice, what do I want to do, creating some value for myself that I can actually provide value to the world, get paid for it, get paid well for it, and build sort of a community of people. And so I think for me, it goes, if I go way back, it goes through to my dad, who actually owned he was a home builder. And so built homes, with his crew, as I was growing up. I got involved before I was even allowed to work, probably, with him. And, I would say probably 10 years old, I was on the job site swinging a hammer, and but kind of got the foundations of how he ran a business, having to pay people and, having to ensure, time, people were there on time, and gathering tools, and, obviously making money both also how you have to spend it properly. And so while he was more self-employed, it was still, my first experience with understanding what business really was. And then for myself, I didn't really put that into context with like how it actually worked. I didn't have a business then or anything. I worked for him, but I got to understand sort of hard work, how business works. And then it wasn't actually until I got to I would say college. I actually went to post-secondary and didn't really know what I wanted to do. And university wasn't really for me with regards to like just theory-based stuff. And so I'm like, I need to do something that's like actually going to sink my teeth into. So I went to college, which is more practical based. And the cool thing about where I went was it was only a couple of years, and I decided I want to take business. So I took business, and I quickly realized that they don't teach business in school like you would normally in the real world be successful, because there's so much of it is practical. And so what I got involved with on campus was a program at the time called SIFE, which is called Students in Free Enterprise. And we got involved. Essentially, the whole point of this club, so to speak, was that it became coast to coast all across Canada and United States, which is now called Enactus. We essentially created programs, projects in the community, all based around entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial initiatives, so that we use the entrepreneurial skills that we had to create value for businesses, projects. There was thousands of students involved. I ran a team. I was the vice president of the club. We ran a team of about 50 people. And essentially what we did was we would go to, small businesses in the community. We would, hey, let's look at your marketing plan. We're learning this stuff. Like, there's great ideas at the table. Let's take that and let's bring our ideas to the table. Let's this restaurant needs a food truck. We helped them launch a food truck, because they were just like a small restaurant. So we actually took practical things to help businesses grow and scale. And at the same time, we would take entrepreneurial practices, and then we would be able to actually apply them to community-based initiatives. So like we actually took, we went to a project called Fair Trade Niagara. We actually took, necklaces and jewelry, things that are made in like South Africa or North Africa. And if they couldn't sell them for a profit there, we got them here, we sold them for a profit here, and we sent the profits back home to those families so they could support their families. And so we would use lots of different initiatives to be able to understand business. The club itself was run as a business. We'd have our teams like, director of marketing and, accounting and everything. And we had our own finances we had to manage. And that really, I think, was the game changer for me to really be like, this is cool. I can own the things that we have. We have a team creating different projects, having impact. And then we got to actually earn awards and stuff from that. And we were one of the top schools actually in Untitled Canada with one of the smallest budgets that had some of the most impactful projects. So I think there was an eye-opening experience. It wasn't the theory that I was learning that was actually going to have an impact. It was the game-changing, actions that we were all taking collectively as a group. And so I think that was probably my first early stage of what I loved. And then I started getting into using the skills that I actually had at the time, which was graphic design. And I was essentially doing people's graphic design. I was creating videos. I was creating imagery for social feeds, you name it. So their Instagram content. And that's what I was doing sort of to start. And then I realized just a couple of years ago, after I was doing that for a bit, how much I really enjoyed creating content, doing this on my own, building a community, and jumped upon LinkedIn, which is where I started growing a really strong community there of over almost 25,000 people, really tight-knit group of, clients there, a community of content creators, and then started seeing, the value that I was dishing out being viewed by millions of people. So we've done over, just on my account, 10 million views just on my videos, et cetera, just in the last 12 months. And so it's been really fun to sort of build a community there and then take the work that, the knowledge that I have, the skills, and apply it to that platform and generate new business.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, first of all, congratulations on all your success. I don't know your age, but you strike me as really young.
I'm 30, actually.
Oh, well, you look pretty young.
Yeah.
Just kind of a young look, but also still, I mean, 30, I'm 41. I feel like I'm like the old internet guy now, but no, I mean, just to, to kind of have reached some of the levels that you're at with in terms of who, I heard about you. I don't remember who it was that I heard about you, but they were like, this is the guy for organic LinkedIn growth. And to be the guy for anything, frankly, you just have, like, that's not, and I think a lot of people sort of aspire to be the guy or the girl, right, for whatever the thing is. And they're like, well, how do you become the person who leads the thing? It's about value, and it's about how much you give. It's not how much you take. It's not how much you ask for. It's not how much you want in return. It's about how much you give. And I do love that we live in a world now where that fundamental truth is out there for everyone to see. The person who gets the most is the person who gives the most.
Yep.
And so for me, I'm like, I haven't seen it all, but I know intuitively the amount that you must have given to that platform to become the guy who is, quote, gets that platform, right?
Yep. Exactly.
Congrats for that. And I want to ask you more about that. That's the part that I'm going to be very selfish about. I really want to know about LinkedIn. I'm hoping you'll just break the code for me wide open right here on this interview. But actually, before we do that, I want to touch on one thing you said, which is, and sort of clarify, I think we're totally in the same position or same place mentally. It's not about, if you want to have a great life, you need to be an entrepreneur. You need to start a business. You need to take on all this stuff that, is a lot of work. Whether it's entrepreneurial, whether it's intrapreneurial, whether it's, even self-employed people, it's a way of being in the world that's about freedom and control. Mm-hmm. Or even a self-employed person. Like, there's two kinds of self-employed people. There's people where they might say, I own a business, but really their business just owns them. I mean, they are every bit the slave and then some that the most miserable corporate grunt is, right? But it's not because there's something fundamentally right or wrong about owning a business, because they haven't set it up the right way. Or maybe they're not in the right business. And on the flip side, there's people that own their business and, maybe they tend to it a few hours a month, but mostly they have all this flexibility, and there's all points in between. It's about harnessing the opportunities that the world presents, which are amazing. And I would say the best of them have all emerged in the last 10 to 15 years.
Yep.
And then it's about optimization and almost obsessive commitment to process and organization and getting better and better and constantly and never-endingly improving to get ultimately command of your life. Like that's really what I'm talking about. And I don't even know if there's a word for all that. It's just like, I always just say, like, having an awesome life. Like, that's literally what I say is, like, I focus on teaching excellence for the purpose of creating an awesome life for people. So I just want to say, I think we agree about that. But reality is most people don't have that.
Yeah.
Most people are kind of struggling to get it. So maybe talk a little more about that before we get into the LinkedIn stuff, if we could. Like what do you say to people? Because, and actually maybe this blends in with the LinkedIn stuff pretty well, because LinkedIn is a platform where, even especially among social platforms, I see people banging their heads against the wall, trying to crack this thing, and they are doing it every which way but the right way. And to me, that's an example of how, like, people want this result, but they don't know how to get it. So maybe talk about, well, I don't know, just respond to what I just said in whatever way you feel relevant.
Yeah, I think one of the best ways I could say that in terms of how do you find success on LinkedIn, but how do you find success with regards to that statement you just said was, I think you got to just be human, to be honest. And I think there's a lot of people on social media in business that are just trying to, that are in it for the wrong reasons. And, I was just talking to somebody today about this, about, you already have the skills to make $1 million a year. You have the knowledge, the skills, and I'm not talking like you just were born yesterday. I'm talking like you've been in your career a little bit and you've run a business. But I think for a lot of people is like they're trying the wrong things and they don't have, like you said, the systems and things in place as well. But I think ultimately they're not serving and providing enough value for people. And, if you're going on, let's say, LinkedIn and, I think it's less B2B now and it's more like human to human, like H to H or something, right? Or person to person, because like LinkedIn's a unique platform about that. Like you got to show up like a human being and show how you can provide value to people, because people can see right through things like, spamming people right away, and people are sick of that, right? So how do you provide value to someone and get paid well for it? And I think one of the best things is, like, if you're jumping in a conversation with someone, I was just talking to someone just this morning, like, going on the platform and, like, finding out what that problem or that issue is that's going on in their business right now, just having just a candid conversation, jumping on a quick call with them, even if it's right that day, or like if it's you book a time and just be like, hey, let's just chat about that. As you're chatting, just be like, hey, can I like do something right now? If it's like, oh, I'm struggling to provide content for my business. I was just talking to someone today and he was using this approach and I was like, this is perfect. He helps people provide content through, like, if they're struggling to keep up with content, they're on that hamster wheel. He's like, I just went and talked to them. And what I did was I said, hey, you're having trouble? Let's do this right now. Let's map out the rest of 2020 for you in terms of your content. Just so you're not struggling, saying, what do I talk about? Let's just do it right now. They opened a Google spreadsheet. Boom, they did it. And he's like, this is awesome. And he's like, he mentioned somewhat in there in that conversation that he has a service with regards to providing content. And he closed them right there. But he's like, the whole point and the whole purpose was about reciprocity. I just want to help this person, and people just feel so inclined to want to give back if you have the right approach with that specific individual, right? And I think that's the whole point of, like, if you understand, know, like, and trust, that people only do business with people that they trust, right? Like, and then before that, the first two steps are know and like, right? Mm-hmm. How do you get people to know you first? And that's sort of that attention and awareness thing, which is so key in the world of business and marketing today. Then how do you take people from both strangers that just know you to people that like you, people that follow your content, you're providing good value, the one-on-one conversations are just so genuine, you're there to serve them, they can just feed off of that. And then you take that person from like to trust by, asking them questions, jumping on a call, giving them more value. And then in return, they're like, cool, like, I want more of this. And then they're like, I need to hire you. And so I think that's just the reality of people doing it the wrong way. They're like, they just treat people as ATM machines, that they're just like, I'm just going to talk to them and they're just going to dispense cash to me if I just pitch them. And I think that people fail to see that there's a human being behind a screen or behind a mobile phone. And with so much things like automation these days and whatnot, which is very valuable, people can quickly lose sight of the human aspect of a lot of these platforms and treat people just simply as a number. And so the way to build a really strong community, the way to have a lot of success, is treat people as a human being and know that also you can't do everything yourself. And so I think one of the best books I ever read was Good to Great by Jim Collins. And I loved, the concept of how he spoke about, you want to be successful, and this is with anything across the board, is you need to have humility and fierce resolve. So you need to believe that you can actually go do it and you'll break through walls. And then, you need to have humility, realizing, like, I got to strip myself of my pride and I need to either ask for help if I need it, or realize I don't have everything all put together. And so I think a combination of those two things, appear human and, be humble and also have a fierce resolve that you're going to get things done, is an amazing combination to having some success.
You like literally just said so much. I mean, there's so much material we could talk through and process through in what you said. I'll tell you that the couple things that jumped out at me is the coupling of content and service. Like we all know the content game. I mean, anybody in business, or even people that aren't in business, but they're just aspirational, and they're looking at the internet going, well, what does it look like to get in business? And what they're seeing is content. And so I think some people even probably overemphasize the necessity of just producing this abundance and consistency of content, right? And like you say, what do I talk about? And I think that you just nailed it. The coupling, we could even maybe replace the word content with service. Mm-hmm. If you say, oh, I'm behind on my content creation, that sounds like a burden, but also kind of vague. Like, what? Well, I don't know. The reason I'm behind is because I can't think of what to say. But if you say I'm behind on my service, then it's like, well, it's not what do you say, it's what do you do? Yep. Well, I serve, I help. Well, how do you help? I don't know, find problems and help, right? Like that, we're not as confused as human beings. We're not as flat-footed around how do I help.
Yep.
So why don't we just swap those words, and say you don't even need to worry. You don't need to map out your content. You need to map out your service. Create a service calendar, right?
Yep.
Only it's delivered digitally.
Yeah. Are you serving enough people every single day with enough stuff? Exactly.
That's it.
I love that.
And then the technology, all the technology serves to do is to amplify your service.
Yep.
Right? It's not some vacuum that you need to fill. It's a tool that you need to use to amplify your service. I love this, dude. I literally just thought of this while you were talking. Like, this is powerful.
It is. This is awesome.
And you're saying that's basically, okay, you gave me what I asked for. You cracked the code wide open on this call, right? For LinkedIn and probably for everything now.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of, I think that's key in general, right? Like for people that are even wanting to appear online, right? Like whoever gives the most service value through service wins, right? Like, and that creates the most attention, right? Obviously that'll create the most people to love the message, find that tribe, and then, convert to people that want to do business with you. And I think that, the goal is, you're attracting more people through that message. Whoever you're serving with that message or that audience, you're going to attract the right people and you're going to deflect the wrong people. And that's great. That's what you want. And so I think, but you're serving more people every single day, with your message through whatever medium, writing, video, you name it. More people are going to be like, hey, I love the stuff that you do. You're building that brand and you're going to convert an X amount of those people.
So let's deconstruct service a little bit, because I totally agree with you. It's been my experience. It's been my life the last 2 or 3 years. The more I've shifted towards just a service and a value-based approach, and it's hard. It's actually hard as a business owner to take a true value-based approach that says, I'm not measuring the value of what I give by what I get from it. I'm literally just giving, and I'm learning to love just giving.
Yep.
Without asking and trusting that process. Like, that's actually, it kind of goes against the profit drive. It's like, well, why would I give and not charge?
Yep.
Right. Well, because that's just how the world works now, but that's hard. So let's deconstruct it a little bit. First of all, you meant, the other thing you said was humility, right? From Good to, and I love that book too, Good to Great. I think one of the hardest things for people to figure out how to do is to serve and to give in a way that establishes value and authority, but doesn't position you as pompous, inflated, and self-absorbed.
Yeah.
Where you're going on to me, we're like, I'm the expert and I'm going to teach you now as my act of service. Right? But, so humility is not only how you do that, but my experience has taught me from figuring this out and fumbling. And I didn't have Fabio 2 years ago to tell me what to do. Is that the more humble you are, the more you're actually serving what people really need, which is to see other people in all their screwed up glory, being real while serving and creating content and giving.
They want to see a little bit of themselves in that person, right? Because when they don't, and they see you all put together, like, that's not me. I don't work that way. So how am I supposed to ever achieve this level of, how they look, how they act, how they talk? I could never do that. I could never attain that. Right. And so, but I think that's simply putting on a show, right? Like, that's not reality. And so business has its major failures for sure. Right. And so, you're going to go through that. You're going to go through those, even those videos, they're not perfectly polished. People do videos and they're serving. It's like there's ums and ahs and there's cut up content. Right. So it's like, and you realize that person is not perfect. And actually when you show that, and you show those battle wounds and scars, I think people can really relate more to that. And so I think that's bang on in terms of if you're serving, like, you need to understand that for sure.
And those things, they're not like compromising your service. You're not serving in spite of them. You're serving because of them, because that's actually the service, is letting people see them. We live in an era now where transparency and vulnerability, it's like we went away from those things for so long and we became so desperate for it that now you literally serve just by being real.
Yep. Because people can relate to that. You
Is
see you as a human
that
being.
how you've gotten your results on LinkedIn?
Yeah, that's definitely a portion of it. I think definitely like you want to, I like to say I attribute I attribute value to, yes, there's appearing human and transparent and, tell your story and all those types of things. But I actually attribute value through, if I'm posting content or serving, we'll use that terminology. If I'm serving, I make sure that when I'm serving with a specific message, it has 4 key pieces within it. And I learned this from Jay Shetty, who's obviously one of the masters at creating video content and obviously a large community or videos viewed over 6 billion times.
Right.
I was talking to him about it. He had said, your content or your video or your message, how you're serving, it needs to be educational. So it either needs to be educational, informative, inspirational, or motivating. That's sort of your third pillar. So those are your 3 pillars. It needs to educate someone. So they need to learn something where it's like, wow, I walked away from something with an action step. Or like, wow, that was really good. Inform someone. So let's say there's a change in your industry, or like, wow, that was really interesting. I'm glad I stumbled across this.
Mm-hmm.
And then, inspirational or motivating, it moves your emotions and it gets you to like feel and be like excited or like sad or angry, you name it. Or it spurs you on to want to take action. And then the 4th pillar, which is really important because the 4th pillar should be coupled with the first 3 in some form or manner, he mentioned, which is entertainment. And so if you can make content or your message or your service entertaining, but also educational, informative, and motivating or inspirational, coupled with entertainment, you have a winning success for people wanting to pay attention continuously with your message. And so that was really important because I was like, okay, if I'm posting something, if I'm creating a level of value for someone, I need to make sure it's not just like fluff. It's like it's got one of these pieces within there. And so that was really eye-opening for me in terms of, if I'm going to listen to anybody who is posting anything out there, who's sharing a message that is getting people to listen in droves, whatever platform it is, people are human beings. So they're gonna react to how whatever sort of strategy and or how it's structured and how the message is structured. And so that was something really key that I learned from him. And so any content I put out there, any sort of one-on-one conversation, so if I'm just DMing someone or I'm chatting with someone on LinkedIn or any platform, like I'm going to be like, okay, is what I'm doing, am I like going to make them laugh or talk to them as a human being, not just a robot? They're saying someone will entertain. Am I teaching them or showing them something that's like, wow, this was so much value. Like, hey, I'd love to jump on a call or whatever. Like I'm just serving and giving so much, and I'm following these sort of pillar principles that they're just like intrigued. And so I think that's just sort of been a model that's worked for me. And I think you just do it consistently. Nobody is in any overnight success, and by no means am I there because they did it one time. And I think that's just a matter of, you got to do it consistently. Nobody will remember that one viral video that you did, but people will always remember that person that's always at the top of the news feed because they're seeing your content, your videos, your message day in and day out, and you're not giving up. And so I think that's really important for people to remember.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Service is it's almost like a lifestyle. It's not a thing you did once.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't service. That was, that was a PR moment, right? Like, oh, hey, don't you remember 2 years ago I went to that village and I dug that water well? What you forgot? Like, come on, man. No, that's PR. Service is like who you become, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I'm curious with LinkedIn specifically. And when I'm talking about transparency and vulnerability and authenticity, it's like, obviously you're probably not going to go on any platform, but especially you're not going to go on LinkedIn and like start crying and, tell your emotional, like the thing you shared last night in your group therapy session. Like, that's not what I'm saying, but it's about being willing to like strip off some of the polish. And tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems like with LinkedIn in particular, people are extremely or maybe they're predisposed to not be comfortable with that even more than other platforms because it's perceived as like the buttoned up social network.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I think it is. I think that in a lot of ways, the platform is slowly, I think, being built. It's sort of crumbling, and that's sort of crumbling that sort of old mentality. And there's a new wave of people that are sharing a little bit of that, and like you said, not full blown like they're crying on video or something, but they're getting a little bit more vulnerable. Like, hey, here's a struggle that's going on this week with my business. Like they're telling people like, hey, I'm not perfect, but here's what's going on right now. And so I think that's just because people want to appear more human, like I said. And so it's definitely a platform that's coming along, but you're still going to see people the more you post that kind of stuff. Hey, this belongs on Facebook, or like people will still comment that, and it happens for sure. So, but I think in general, you do want to appear a little bit more professional on LinkedIn, right? You want to keep it like somewhat professional. There's certain content that performs well on LinkedIn versus like Facebook or whatever, right? Because of the types of people that are there. The types of people on Facebook might be completely different than like, that CEO on LinkedIn who's like, yeah, like he might just like, or she might just skip over that video because it's not giving them what they want on that platform. They would find that on Facebook, or they're on LinkedIn for something totally different, right? So, but I think that the platform is changing, that people do want a little bit of vulnerability, obviously transparency, and getting people to know who people are behind the brands, as opposed to just, what message you're putting out there as a corporate message.
So it's interesting to me with LinkedIn. I live in the world of like, we're really focused on what I would call skill acquisition. I'm working with a lot of individuals. They're not, maybe they either don't come from the corporate world, or if they do, maybe a lot of times they're trying to get out of it. I train, I have I don't know if I can technically say it's a school because we're not like accredited, but I mean, it's training and coaching for entrepreneurs, right?
Yep.
So maybe, I've worked with people that have 6-figure corporate jobs, but they're boxed in and they're miserable and they want to get out, and I'll start my own business. Right. So I guess my point is we're taking people and saying, hey, if you acquire the right skills to the right level of competence, then basically you're free. Because you can contract the skills, you can start your own gig with the skills, you can use the skills to market your own product. You can, if you want to go, you can actually go find a completely new category of jobs with the skills. Like whatever life you want, you can have if you have these skills, mm-hmm. right? So my question is, how much do you feel, or I guess my observation that leads into the question is, it seems like once you have those skills, LinkedIn should be a really obvious place to go with those skills, right? Because am I wrong in thinking that if you have what let's call just like 21st century marketing skills, it does, that your value is extremely high on that platform? Is that a true statement?
Oh, for sure it is. Yeah, I think that if you step back to and I understand, okay, if you acquired these specific skills and you have these skills, they actually do nothing for you unless you realize who those skills are valuable for. Right. And so I think that those skills are extremely valuable to the right person, right? To the right person. And that you don't have to sell, convince, psychologically use, sales tactics to convince a specific person, because they already value what you have to offer, And so I think that's when you realize who is that person. That's almost a skill in itself, is understanding who is it that person that I actually serve and that can actually serve and help, where without having a huge conversation, persuasion of, a sales conversation, I don't have to be salesy. This person already values what I have to, I just have to show them that. Right. And so I think content does a great job of that. But I think LinkedIn is great because I've found there's not many platforms out there. There's really no platform out there that you can organically find that actual person based on job title, industry. You can't do a search on Instagram for CEOs in the, marketing advertising space or the, finance space or whatever. You can't do a search and find those people. You can do hashtag searches, I guess, but are they even there? So it's like in no other platform do they give you enough data to search and niche down to that exact person that you can serve, so that these skills are valuable to this audience. Go add 2, 5, 10,000 of those people. Like this is what I always tell, go add 10,000 of those people, send them like a message. Maybe you can help them right away. Awesome. But like continue educating people by serving through that message, whatever medium, video, writing, you name it. You have 10,000 people now and here's the numbers, which is kind of crazy. There's 350 active users on LinkedIn. There's over 600 actual users, but 350 people are active, which LinkedIn says they log in once a month. Out of those 350 million people, only 1% of people, this is released by LinkedIn, only 1% of people create content. It's 3 million people out of 350 million people. And that doesn't even mean it's good.
Yeah.
So that's like, they just post a Forbes article or, it gets 2 likes. Like that's just anybody using it to create content. Because there's a lot of recruiters and stuff. There's a lot of eyeballs, but not a lot of people creating content. So my focus is always like, go add the right people. Go add like 5,000, 10,000 people because you can do that. Because you can go do that search, add those people, send them a personalized invite. You're going to get a percentage of those people that accept. From there, you need to go serve those people up with the right message that's going to be valuable to them. To that specific. If you serve lawyers, go add lawyers. What is it that their challenges right now? Because when you do that, not a lot of people are creating content. LinkedIn's going to want to show people that are actually posting content. You're going to show up in the newsfeed at the top every single time they log in and go to their newsfeed. It's you. It's you there. It's you there every time because there's no one else doing it, especially like if it's lawyers or accountants or whatever. And that's the beauty of like now you appear as like the authority to this audience and you get 10,000 people that you're talking to every single day. That's why you don't need millions of followers on LinkedIn because now the beauty is LinkedIn has first, second, and third degree, right? And now if you have lawyers, let's say you serve lawyers, you can help them. Who do you think they're connected to? Lawyers are connected to lawyers. So they like or comment on your video. They think it's valuable. That person who might have 2,000 or 3,000 people in their network, you've now appeared on their newsfeed as well. And the next person's newsfeed. So now that's how you sort of spiderweb your way into the correct audience by adding the right people first. So that's the beauty of LinkedIn.
So yeah, this is fascinating to me because frankly, I have focused so much time and energy on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, a little below Facebook, but which have such a different atmosphere and energy and functional benefit and every dynamic than everything you're saying. So I want to come back to that. I want to really clarify, most of my audience has a pretty good idea when I talk about these skills. I mean, they tend to know what I'm talking about, but I just want to make sure we're really clear. Like I'm talking about marketing and sales skills in the digital economy. That's to put a blanket on them, whether it's copywriting or direct response design or, process optimization or video creation or messaging or, sales funnels, like all this stuff. Right. So if people are listening to this, like, well, I just want to free myself. I just want to create liberty and opportunity in my life. What do I need to do? I'm telling you, learn those things. And then what you're saying is that on LinkedIn, I'm going to say it back to you, make sure I'm getting this right. You have an opportunity to go into a space that almost uniquely among internet properties has more demand than supply for content.
It's a blue ocean.
Yeah, because if you're on Facebook, and let me put this in clear terms for everyone, and I know this from experience because I have to win the Facebook content game every day to do what I do. If you're on Facebook, you are competing with hundreds of millions of people who are on the platform at any given time with nothing better to do. They might be retired, they might be unemployed, they might be young, they might just be jerks that like to go find a place to throw spitballs at people, metaphorically, which means you're creating content against, and if you're a business owner or you work in a business and you're trying to create content and you're trying to attract eyeballs, you're competing in an environment that is saturated with people that have more time than you to create content because they have nothing to do. And they'll just get eyeballs because they're bored and they want attention. So it's actually really hard. And then you go over to LinkedIn and you have millions of people that all, a few things about them. They all have jobs. They all have some schooling. They're all somewhat motivated because they have jobs and they're there for professional purposes to improve their career. That means they're busy. So they're looking for more, they're looking for content to consume in their bits of time that they have, but they're not trying to compete with you to create it.
Correct. Yep. There's
I'm
not a lot
almost
to do.
going, why the heck are we all working so hard to produce content and compete with all these people that are stuck at home bored? We should all be on LinkedIn.
Context is everything. I mean, you're totally right, Jeff. Like, I can't hammer this message home enough. I've told this to numbers of people, is like, you're talking to an audience that's already half sold, right? Like, they're not looking at cat videos. They're there because they want to improve their life, their business, their financial situation, their career. Nobody's on LinkedIn because they want to downgrade their situation. It's just the reality, right? So,
yeah.
So you're either selling somebody, you're providing value to a specific person who's on there for a specific reason. Not many people go on there, and if they're on LinkedIn to troll or whatever, because there are trolls there and stuff, you name it, like there are on Facebook and stuff. The thing is, it's the mindset of like, who, they're on Facebook because they're watching family stuff or their kids or whatever, whatever, the friends' kids, whatever, or they're on LinkedIn for a different reason. And so that's the beauty of using that platform, because you can be, get value to the right audience, and that's how you can convert a really, strong community there.
And so I guess there's always going to be trolls everywhere. Just like at any big company, there's some, lecherous person that just lives by the water cooler and waits for people to talk to and pounce on. But I mean, it's got to be a lot less.
Yes.
Just the vibe is different, because so many people on Facebook are there to just, whatever they're in, they're there to wallow in. But on LinkedIn, even people that are maybe in a down position of their life, they're not on LinkedIn to wallow in it. They're on LinkedIn to fix it.
Yep.
For the most part, right?
Yeah. They think the platform's they're using it. And even if they haven't used it for a while, they're using it because they're wanting to get that new job or that promotion. They're searching for something or an opportunity, or they're connecting with the right people that can get them that. Like, they're usually there for a good reason, to help upgrade their life. And I think that's the beauty of LinkedIn. It's so much easier to have a conversation with people, and they're open to it. They're not like, why are you talking to me? They're like, oh, cool. Like, yeah, I'm here to network. So are you. Like, cool. Right. What do you have to do? Like, what do you provide people? Hey, like, give good value to people. They'll listen because it's kind of what they're there for. And so I just find it's so much easier, and people should really be on the platform. It's like Facebook 2012 before, they decided, and LinkedIn's the same. They'll go to a platform eventually someday where they have enough demand met, and they'll start showing a lot more ads. That's how they make their money, right? So LinkedIn will get there, but every platform goes through that. And if you can catch the wave at the right time, well, you're going to be part of a really strong number of people that have taken the opportunity early on to grow. And this happened. LinkedIn wasn't like, they're not a new platform. But what happened was, obviously, Microsoft purchased them 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And that's when they said, okay, we see opportunity with this platform. And to think about it for context, YouTube was purchased for $1.9 billion by Google. Big company buys small, YouTube grows, right? Facebook bought Instagram for $1.1 billion. Well, you can all know what happened to Instagram. Well, LinkedIn was purchased actually by Microsoft for $26 billion, 26 times more money than either of those two. And they're like, that's essentially right when they bought them. You saw video, now you see live video. They're introducing stories this year. So now they're like, we see this as the social media platform for business, for professionals. Like, that's where they want to go. And I think this is like a good time to really jump on board, because there's no other time. If you jump on board in 5 years, it may be like Facebook is today.
But I got to think that, given the nature, there's a total difference between building a social network around people that are there to spend time. Mm-hmm. They're there to use it as a diversion, versus building a social network around people who have jobs and they're busy and there to use it as a tool. So who knows? But I mean, I would almost bet that it's actually going to have a more stable evolutionary process that maybe actually maintains quality in a better way, because of just who's there. And so because of that, obviously it is a blue ocean. It is a huge opportunity. And in the last couple of years, I'm in a lot of different groups, and especially the coaching and consulting and marketing service provider world is definitely waking up to the opportunity of LinkedIn, right?
Yep.
So my question is, if you are like, let's say I think I'm legitimately, credibly, really, really good at some of these skills. Mm-hmm. If I wanted to go on LinkedIn and create opportunity for myself, land a few clients, let's say, what would I do to go on LinkedIn and establish my credibility and value without sounding like 1,000 other people that are all there sending out the same messages and the same solicitations, making the same claims?
Yep. You got to do something different. And so I think number one is, this is the same process I tell everybody. Number one is you have to optimize your profile. So you need to show people how you help people, how you serve people, because if it's like someone's CEO at blah, blah, blah company, people don't know what that company is. Like what you do, you need to say, here's how I help people. Even in your headline, I help people with, or I help coaches and consultants, I help what, right? So that when you start adding those people, they know, oh, this is the person that can actually serve and help me. And so I think number one is optimizing your profile, your cover photo, your profile photo has to be like something that people land on and like it stops them in their tracks. Like I got to see what this person does and, builds authority. So that's number one. Number two, you got to start adding the right people, because no matter who you talk to, content you put out there, it's not going to work if it's the wrong people that you're adding. So that's the beauty of, you don't have to accumulate followers. You can actually, which you can do, but you can add the right connections, which are also followers, but those connections are very, very valuable because now you're adding the right people. And so connections is important, but show up in that personalized invite different. And so one of the things I love to do is I actually love to add video to my personalized invites. Be like, just add like a personal video message. And sometimes it's like, I can't do it for every single person. Like, hey, Jeff, my name's Fabio. Hey,
Right.
John, because it's going to take forever. But I'll add like a simple message, even just using my phone, where, it appears as if I'm like speaking like a human being. And I'm pulling out my phone like, hey, so good to connect. I know you don't have a lot of time, but I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Fabio. And then I like just get to like, I'd love to get to know you better. Great to connect. And then, so that personalized invite, I just say, hey, I shot a quick video just to say hello and, wanted to introduce myself here on LinkedIn. Would love to get connected and see what ways we can provide value to each other. But like using a little video, people will watch it and be like, oh, that was really awesome. Like he appeared differently. I got to see a face and tone of voice, and they go add me, and then we just start a conversation. And so that's the beauty of using LinkedIn, is because you can appear different than just like the majority, which is they just click the connect button. They don't add a personalized invite. People are like, why are you adding me? And so that's how you can kind of stand out from the crowd. And then further to that, once you get connected, give them more value. Hey, you know what? As a coach and consultant, I just want to give something to you. I think this would be extremely valuable to you. Or just be like, hey, you know what are you struggling with right now? Find out that struggle and just maybe give and serve something quick, a quick hit that you can give them that's really valuable. Like, wow, that was really helpful. Don't ask for anything, and then either you'll get an opportunity to chat with them, or now you post content. Continue posting content. You'll always show up on their feed. They're going to remember you through the video, through first connecting with you. Then they'll just keep seeing you as that authority to consultants, coaches, whoever you serve, and eventually that comes around with like, hey, I need help with this. Jeff, I've been seeing the stuff that you've been doing through the feed on LinkedIn, and it's so valuable. I need help with, getting new clients or whatever it is, or I need help with structuring my business with the right processes and systems. That's how you get clients. And then so when you start posting content, that's when you can convert those people that, are coming into either inbound through your profile or you're messaging them in the first place. And so that's the beauty of a sort of a process on LinkedIn that just works. If you're starting, optimize your profile, go add the right people, particularly try and add people that you can serve, and or add people that are like your dream 100 list. Go find people that are like, these are really big name players. I was able to do that just by like showing up to the right people that I would never have a business talking to on Instagram or Facebook, because they would never check it, but They're on LinkedIn and they're like, yeah, cool. Like great to connect with you. Conversations with the co-founder of Forbes.com, Jay Shetty, Dan Locke, like great influencers that would never have the time of day to chat through other platforms. But because LinkedIn, I like to say, is like the backdoor entrance to meeting some of the top people in the world. Everyone's lining up at the front door, and I'm like, I'll just go around the back door, and that's LinkedIn.
That's really cool. You hit an aha for me, because I think about my LinkedIn, and I go through like every couple of weeks and just like accept all the invitations, right? People connecting. And all I really see is, I mean, I see their picture, I guess, a little bit, but unless I recognize them, that doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
Then I see their name, but unless I recognize it, that doesn't mean anything. And then I see their job title.
Or the headline. Yep.
Yeah. CEO at whatever,
Yep.
owner at whatever, consultant at whatever. And I realized as you were talking that literally your job title is the most valuable, high impact word that you can get people, that the majority of places that your name is going to show up, probably not even just true on LinkedIn. That's what people are going to see. Wasting it on CEO, like being a CEO is only meaningful if somebody knows the company. If you say CEO at Microsoft, people are like, oh,
yes,
like CEO at, Wilbur McClellan Enterprises.
yes.
No offense if randomly Wilbur McClellan is listening. I just made that name up. But like, that doesn't mean anything to anyone. So why even bother saying you're the CEO? Why not say like guy who fixes things at Wilbur McClellan, whatever.
Yep.
That's genius right there. And yeah, I think as it kind of goes to, I mean, this is a bigger conversation, which is as entrepreneurs and as marketers, we so often see the world as we see it. And we have to train ourselves to see the world as our prospects see it. Right. And, it's the difference between talking about features and talking about benefits. It's the difference between giving people what you think they need versus what they say they want. It's a bigger conversation, right? But LinkedIn seems like a place where you're saying you can have that conversation with people that you would never get to have it with on other platforms.
Exactly. And that's the beauty is like, another thing that I think is a really big struggle for a lot of people, and kind of you touched on it a little bit by adding a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people that get this context of like, I want to build my following. But like, that's one of the worst things you can do on LinkedIn is add the wrong people, because you only get a maximum of 30,000 connections, and then you're maxed out, you're done. And so if you fill that up with like, if I filled that up with like app developers, from other countries, or like, you name it, like IT systems analysts, like people I can't serve, well then every time I post a piece of content, even if I have 5,000 of those people, they won't care about marketing or things that I talk about. So I will never scale to any of their second or third degree networks, because I'll never get my content will never be relevant to those people. And that therefore I'm actually wasting my community on LinkedIn, and I'm building the wrong audience for nothing. And I'll go nowhere, because if I add 5,000 marketers versus 5,000 random people I can't serve, just because they both look like the same number,
right,
but one is going to scale to 50,000 people on a video or a piece of content because you're scaling to more people, versus one will just drop, the algorithm will cut out because you got no likes or no comments, because that audience can't actually get value from your content. So that's very, very important. It's the right people is everything on the platform.
That's really interesting. Okay, this is in the interest of time, because I know we both have other commitments. I am purely for myself in this case, but everyone else will benefit too. How do we go follow you and start, like I said, become a fan, become part of your world, and learn more about all this amazingness?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously I would say LinkedIn's the number one platform that I use. You can find me on other platforms like Instagram and Facebook and whatnot, but Twitter. But, LinkedIn's my jam. So Fabio Marrama, Fabio Marrama. Or you can visit my website, FabioMarrama.com, or you can get there by visiting crushlinkedin.com as well.
So it's Fabio Marrama. Is it that name on all the platforms if we just search it?
Correct. Yep.
Cool. And I apologize. I was literally pulling you up on LinkedIn because I'm about to start stalking you in the least weird way possible. What did you say you have a website specifically?
Yeah, like people can find me at crushlinkedin.com.
Crush LinkedIn. Okay.
Yeah, and
do you have a course or a coaching program or anything like that? I
do, yeah. So I have a full video course at crushlinkedin.com/go, or we actually do fully done for you. So we built a number of different companies. So our clients now have done over 60 million views collectively in the last year. Some CEOs, consultants, executives at top companies like Google, Netflix, Salesforce, Pepsi. We've done some amazing people. And so essentially, yeah, I also have it done for you totally at crushlinkedin.com/build it.
Cool. I'm asking, like I said, out of personal interest and for everyone else too. And our team will get those links and make sure that they appear wherever this show appears. Fabio, I appreciate your time, man. This has been tremendous.
Yeah, this has been great, Jeff. I appreciate the invite, and great to both meet you and chat about some really cool stuff today.
Of course, yeah. Congratulations on all your success, and thanks from the Millionaire Secrets audience. We'll catch you on the next one.
Sounds good.